We have with us former Energy Secretary and now Leyte Governor Jericho Petilla. Sir, magandang hapon po and thank you for joining us.
Magandang hapon sa lahat, mga Regina, Ed, and Ronald. Long time no see.
Magandang hapon, Governor. Long time no see.
Nagkasama ata kayo sa ano?
Ha?
Oo, si Ronald kasi sumisipot lang to pag may gulo eh.
Ay,
Kaya nga.
parang araw-araw ba may gulo dito sa
Hindi ko
show na to?
sigurado kung positive yan o negative. No?
What do you think, Ronald? Do you think it could be positive?
Cup half full, half empty.
But sir, let me start off with this. Medyo maraming na-depress dun sa balitang lumabas sa quoting you saying, and also now even Secretary Garin is saying na whatever happens in the Middle East dun sa Iran-US conflict, we're not going to see the normalization of oil prices anytime soon. Not in so many months, maybe not even within the year. I don't know. Marami na depressed doon kasi ang daming umaasa na especially now may ceasefire baka naman may konting
Konting dagdag lang.
konting
Kwan kasi, sa pagkakakilala ko kay Governor Secretary Jericho Petilla, he calls a spade a spade. So hindi naman siya propagandist katulad natin.
ba't isama mo kami?
Uy, hindi kami kasama dyan.
Isama mo kami. Sir, kayo po.
Basically, if I can lie, pero what's the point? If that is the truth, and by the way, I'm not the first one to actually say that. Marami nang nauna sa akin. Mga researchers, economists, okay, even si Attorney Jay Layog, former USEC, already said that. So I echoed what they said because I had to verify kung ano ang facts, okay, and it's really what it is, okay. Again, I'm not the first one to say that. However, sinasabi ko yan not to make people depressed. It is for us to prepare. To prepare kasi ganito ang punto ko dito is it's not setting a premise. I'm going to tell you one thing that not so many people know. Starting 2021, OPEC, in particular Saudi Arabia kasi sila nangunguna parati, decided to cut down production 5% a year. Starting 2021. Okay. Bakit? Because they want the prices to go up. They don't want the price to go below 70. Okay, ang comfortable level nila is 70 to 80. Okay, even more if they can. So, my point here is basically asa tayo sa 61, pero sa totoo lang kahit walang gera, tataas yan because we do not have control over oil supply and oil pricing. It's all controlled by OPEC. In fact, ang point dito is, ang sinasabi ko, wala ba tayong extra capacity for the oil wells? And then, I read some articles, and then I found out that the biggest capacity reserve that we have is actually Saudi Arabia. 2 million to 3 million barrels a day na extra capacity. Sabi ko, kung negosyante ka, if you have an oil well, you will maximize it. Pero bakit sila malaki ang capacity na extra? Because they keep on reducing production to actually increase price. So, in the end, mabuti na rin lang, meron silang 2 to 3 million because I think they're using it right now. But the point is, we will always be dependent on oil and we have to start thinking of getting away from oil rather than magdadasal ka na bababa ang presyo ng gasolina, hindi naman natin kontrolado. Kasi merong malaking kumikita, parati tayong nagsasabi oil companies, pero malaking kita dito, yung talagang source ng oil. They control the price, first and foremost. So, if I said anything at all to offend anybody, I do apologize, but I'm telling everybody, we cannot be totally dependent on oil. This is a wake-up call. Kahit walang gera or matatapos ang gera, the oil prices will be there because ang infrastructure na nasira is malalaki. Actually, tinitingnan ko kung minor damage lang to, okay, siguro 3 months time, back to production lahat. Some of the damages are really, really huge, especially Qatar. Where LNG is coming from.
Yeah.
And even Qatar, before it stabilizes its supply, it's going to take them at least a year and a half to do that. That's on LNG. And then Kuwait has heavy damage as well. So we have a precarious situation where the supply, even without the war, is already controlled by OPEC. Lalo na ngayon na may gera, they have every reason to actually, well, not cut down on production, but they really don't have any production in some of their sites. So kahit na tapos na ang gera, yun ang kinatatakutan ko, ganito hindi babalik sa 61 in the near future because it's going to take a couple of years for everything to be normalized. Kahit yung tanker natin, maraming lumubog na tanker, do you know that it takes 2 years to build a tanker? And not hindi yan as if pupunta ka ng isang car show at merong available na kotse, pwede mo nang iuwi. Okay, ino-order yan at matagal. Magpalubog ka ng isa, ang tagal i-replenish yan, gagawin yan. So, all this infrastructure, we will have, well, not we, but the players will have to rebuild them again. And it takes time to do that. Actually, my biggest fear is ganito Kung hindi nagkamayan yung dalawa, tapos patuloy ang gera, at marami pang nasira, so ang projected na 1 to 2 years, baka lumala pa. It's a good thing ngayon, nagkamayan sila. Pero again, nothing is sure yet until there's really real peace in the Middle East. Right now, it's a negotiation.
Sir, if we assume, let's be extremely optimistic for a very short while. If we assume na tumuloy-tuloy itong ceasefire na to na 2 weeks and something develops positively doon sa negotiating table, how long do you think it'll take, or how many years realistically would it take for
To normalize.
I don't even know if normalize is the right word But you know what I mean? Anong timetables or timeframes dito that we're talking about?
The way I see it right now, Saudi has probably the least damage. Okay, but you're looking at Qatar, Kuwait with heavy damage. It's going to take them at least a year and a half, in my estimate.
Minimum. With the current damage. Okay.
And that's production. Wala pa yung tanker dyan. So I don't know the real shortage of the tankers at this point. Okay, siguro pag nalibre yung iba, okay na. Pero kung titingnan mo, kahit na nagkamayan tayo ngayon, what people do not understand is some tankers, kahit na merong go signal, pwede ka nang dumaan. Ayaw pa umandar. Bakit? The owners of the ship don't want to traverse the Strait of Hormuz because they don't have any insurance.
Oh, the insurance company premiums, no?
They're still negotiating on their insurance. So, ikaw may-ari ka ng barko, walang insurance, kahit na sinabi nila, oy, okay ka na, dumaan ka na.
Hindi ka lalarga.
Tatawid ka ba? Baka mamaya, merong isang sarhento lang yan, mag-launch ng missile, and then that's it. Isang tanker yan, no insurance. So, it's, not only is the infrastructure, the financial structure that goes with it, actually lahat affected. So for that to normalize will take a long time. In fact, ang kinatatakutan ko pang isa, sa totoo lang, nag-threat si Donald Trump. We're gonna bring you to Stone Age. Okay, bobombahan namin. You know, my biggest fear is even if they bomb Iran, for example, their oil wells, their ports, their storage tanks and everything, tapos a month later, nagkamayan na sila or they took over Iran, we still will lose a lot of capacity. And that's why I think they were very careful on the side of the US to actually hit on infrastructure that will take time to actually rebuild. Because at the end of the day, there will be peace. And when there's peace, asa na tayo? We pick up the pieces depending on how great the damage na ginawa nila. So, again, this is positive right now. I'd like the oil to go back to 61, but the indicators show that will take a long time, even if magkamayan sila.
Governor, kahit ihiwalay natin yung sinabi nyo kanina na dapat tayong mag-diversify in terms of energy sources. Pero bakit hindi tayo nag-diversify in terms of source ng oil? Why is it na 98% pa rin ng ating oil nanggagaling sa isang lugar na from the very start, alam naman natin, volatile? So, ibang usapin pa yung diversification ng energy sources, ha? Pero
Yes,
imagine kung 98% ng ating oil, isang lugar lang ang pinanggagalingan. And a very volatile area at that.
Well, actually, the 98% is true and not true. Okay, because actually, kung titingnan mo ang importation natin, and DOE can confirm this, okay, about 15 to 20% of our importation comes from the Middle East. Okay, 80% comes from Asia. But then again, Asia's supply comes majority from the Middle East. Pero hindi lahat Middle East. It comes from the US, it comes from Russia, it comes from Canada, okay? Because it's finished product. Binibili natin kasi 80% of the time finished product. We buy it before the war. The majority of our supplier was actually South Korea and China. And then on March, China said, we're no longer selling. So we have to source it, Thailand, Malaysia. Yung 15 to 20%, sino yung nag-i-import na yan? Because the only thing the major thing that comes out of Middle East is actually crude oil, LNG and crude oil. Who uses crude oil? Yung may refinery
Petron.
lang. Yung may refinery lang. And that is Petron. So 15 to 20%, if anything at all, kung merong nakalusot ngayon na galing sa Middle East na oil, it's really crude oil. And the only one using right now crude oil in the Philippines is Petron. The rest is actually we're getting finished product from different sources, mostly from Singapore.
Which also
So-
comes from the Middle East.
Which comes from the Middle East, but not all. Because right now, US is actually supplying Asia. Yes, US is an exporter now. Alam mo, 11 years ago, when I was a secretary, they were a net importer of oil. Now they're net exporter of oil, roughly around 4 million barrels a day.
So my question, Governor, is in line with what Ronald is asking in terms of energy sufficiency. Matagal na po tong problema. It's been decades an issue. In fact, I remember when President Marcos Jr. first came into office, his immediate priority was energy sufficiency because it was at that in the aftermath of the Ukraine invasion. But nothing has happened. And as you said, other countries have become net exporters from being net importers, and we haven't moved at all. So, in hindsight, what would you have done differently in your time
Yes.
to make us more sufficient in energy?
Two reasons siguro kung bakit mahirap tayo mag-move. We don't have any source. That's the first one. Kung meron man tayong source, it's not really oil, it's natural gas, and it's coming from West Philippine Sea, and you know that we have a problem there. Mahirap. Alam mo, sa panahon ko, ilang beses ko nagpadala ng exploration ship doon, parating tineturn back. Okay, and we don't have a strong navy to actually support it. So parang ang hirap kung doon tayo kukuha. Dito naman, sa mainland, there's a few, but only a few. Maybe 1% of our total production, our consumption, comes from this country, but that's it. We don't have any resources. Ngayon, I think, aatras ako ng konti, COVID time. Balik tayo sa COVID time. Kasi sa COVID, when I give talks on digitalization, sabi ng iba, nakong buti na lang na-invento ang Lazada at saka ang Shopee at saka ang GCash. Kasi kung wala yan, nako, lalo na yung misis ko, nanginginig na kasi walang masyashopingan. Mabuti na lang na-invento itong Lazada during COVID. Sabi ko, sandali lang. You know, Lazada was actually incorporated in 2010. Shopee around the same time, GCash existed 2007, Paymaya existed 2004. We only used them because we had no choice. Ginamit natin. Pero wala na yung COVID, hindi na makaalis sa GCash, hindi na makaalis sa Lazada lahat, na-hook na. Perhaps this is a wake-up call for us, itong nangyari ngayon, pagdating naman sa oil dependency. Kasi ang sales ng EV cars ngayon, talagang lumalaki. And honestly, when everything normalizes to a new normal, hindi the old normal, when we have the new normal, when we forget about this war already, makikita natin na people are going to be conscious already about buying EVs, solar panels, and all those things, which is the brighter side kung anong nangyari ngayon. Kailangan natin ng sampal para gumalaw. And I hope in the future, we will not wait for another disaster for us to actually move. We have limited options at this point. But our option is basically the use of electricity. I don't want to be dependent kasi yung iba sinasabi nila, are you speaking on behalf of oil companies? No. Para sa akin nga, kung pwede, wala na tayong dependent sa langis. The problem is, we are in a state where we are dependent right now. We can move slowly out of, but not completely out of oil dependency. We can start doing that kasi we consume 470,000 barrels a day. Can you imagine if we start reducing even just by 10%? Mga kotse, things that need oil or fuel, okay,
Yeah.
we switch to electricity. Pero sasabihin naman nila, sandali lang. Pag electricity ka, tataas naman electricity mo. Dependent naman tayo sa coal. So we keep a balance of the two. If we cannot balance our energy source through sourcing of fuel because we don't have any fuel, at least man lang, ang resources, oil and coal, baka i-balance natin yung dalawa.
Sir,
So-
si Ronald was asking kanina about the timetables for normalizing, and I put that in quotes, normalizing the prices. Yun nga, 61 thereabouts. So, sabihin natin a year and a half. Pero that also depends, I suppose, on how we define normalizing eh. Kasi in previous crisis, for example, I remember the first Gulf War, tumaas din ang presyo ng langis ng sobra-sobra. Parang hindi na bumaba, hindi na nag-normal. Bumaba rin siya, pero it never went back to the pre-Gulf War levels. It just stayed up there, although a little lower. And I remember before the Gulf War, yung gasolina was single-digit prices pa. So are we going to see something like that? Never ever see something along the lines of 60 or 70 per liter. It will always be somewhere up there, although less than what we have right now? Ganun ba yun?
Ganito na lang, if you look at the history of the prices of fuel sa Pilipinas, okay, tumataas. The only time na hindi tumaas siya ng gusto was actually when we were still regulated. Of course, hindi tumaas kasi hindi natural.
Yung OPSF?
It was regulated. Pero on the deregulation side, tumataas yan. Nag-a-average siya ng about 4% per year ang taas niyan. So you cannot expect prices of fuel to remain where they are forever. They will really move upwards. And I say upwards because number one, we don't have control over the sources. It's still OPEC, number one. Kahit anong gawin natin, pag sila kailangan ng maraming pera, isa pa to, I don't want to suspect them, no? Pero ganito, ang laki ng damage nila. Babawiin nila ito muna. Hindi muna ito magbababa ka agad. Bakit? Marami pang babawiin eh. Okay, so I cannot control that anymore. I can only suspect that if you're a sovereign country, tapos meron kang wealth, meron kang oil, I think that's what you would do. Bawiin muna natin kasi laki ng gastos
Your
natin.
primary
Marami nasira
income
eh.
pa.
Oo.
Yes.
At sinong tatamaan? Tayo pa rin.
Tayo.
Why? Because
Tayo.
we don't have any choice. The only way we can counter them is to reduce our dependency on oil. Ayoko ng EV kasi baka tumirik, baka etc. Ayoko gumamit. Marami tayong ayaw. Gusto natin ideal. But there is no ideal situation here. The most important thing is that if we can be less dependent on factors beyond our control, like langis. If we can be less dependent on them, find a way to keep a balance of our sources of energy, that's the best way.
Well, in relation dyan, Secretary, at doon sa sinasabi nyo kanina na diversification ng energy sources, anong tingin nyo doon sa other possible sources, halimbawa nuclear, na nag-explore ngayon ang gobyerno with the US and perhaps France? No? Ikalawa, other sources of energy. Halimbawa, I was invited more than a year ago sa Singapore para pumunta sa isang kanilang power plant sa isang isla of their mainland, no? At pinakita nila that they are getting energy from water. Hinihiwalay nila yung hydrogen. At ang sabi ng Singaporean government, in 2035, all of their vehicles manggagaling na dun sa hydrogen ng water, ang energy source. So, ibig sabihin, the technology is already there. No? It's already there. Bakit hindi natin in-explore yan? In relation sa sinabi nyo na diversification.
During my time as Secretary of Energy, we are actually exploring everything. Kaya lang, until it is commercialized, okay, mahirap pumasok. Kasi kung hindi pa commercial level yan, there's a lot of, sabihin na lang natin, parang marami pang depekto yan na baka mas mahal i-adapt yan with all the defects. We need a matured technology. Kaya yan ang kailangan natin. So, hydrogen, actually, ang nag-advertise niyan is Toyota eh. Sinasabi nila na ang fuel nila will be, hydrogen. Hindi na electric, hindi etc. Yan ang sinasabi nila. Pero up to now, unless you produce it commercially, it's still on the experimental side. It has to be produced commercially first before we can actually enter into it.
Pero parang solar, Governor, matagal na itong commercialized eh. Pero nasaan tayo? Nakilibiste pa rin tayo? No? So, yung ganun ba na kahit na commercialized na, kung hindi tayo mag-aayos, then pupulutin pa rin yan sa pansitan.
Yes. Again, solar, during my time, was actually very expensive at my time. So, we had to push for feed-in tariff to force solar. Ang lahat sinasabi, nako, solar, ang payback period niyan. Okay, for the government, no? Itong mga feed-in tariff, 20 years yan, ang tagal. Windmill, ang tagal, 20. Ang sagot ko naman, kung nagsimula tayo 20 years ago, tapos na tayo ngayon, bayad na to. Puro tayo reklamo na matagal. So, we forced it anyway. And believe it or not, solar is actually, compared to 11 years ago, okay, ngayon, maraming nagsosolar na. But kailangan ng push ng government. Hindi po pwedeng hayaan ang commercial lang dito. Because there are two things about solar na medyo yung iba, medyo ayaw. Okay, number one, education. Nako, bababa talaga ang kuryente ko. Magkano naman? Okay. Pangalawa, ang mahal naman ng installation, capital outlay. And this is probably where the government can come in because it is now grid parity. Pag sinabing grid parity is comparable na to. Ang cost mo comparable na sa grid, even lower. So all we need to do is actually, number one, educate the people. That's what I'm doing in the province of Leyte. Ini-educate ko ang mga tao namin. The first one to go solar was actually the capital with batteries. Okay. And the next move is now to go to the municipio and convince them that I'm actually saving money. Because education is very very important dito. Ang Pilipino kasi mahilig sa savings. Okay? Sabi ko nga, magtipid tayo ng kuryente, magtipid tayo ng fuel. Pero walang nagtitipid. Pero pag nagmahal, lahat nagtitipid. Kailangan may financial aspect eh.
Governor, I'm gonna circle back to my earlier question. So now that we are living through this crisis, do you think it was a good idea to deregulate back then? And could you give us some insight into the relationship between DOE and Petron? Because one is supposed to be the government side, the regulator, pero throughout this crisis, they've always said they're hands-off when it comes to a lot of things, pricing included, right? Wala silang control because everything is deregulated, free market now, which we understand. Pero is there really nothing the government can do, the DOE can do in a crisis like this? What's the relationship like?
Actually, sa deregulation law natin, okay, implied na independent, hindi ka na pwede makialam. Except on certain cases, like for example, if there is a shortage, the DOE can actually come in and get involved. Number two, okay, wala naman tayong shortage for now. Number two, when there is a war, pero hindi rin define kung gera dito or gera sa Middle East. It's just a war. And then number three is basically if there is a crisis. And the president just actually declared an energy emergency. So DOE can come in. In what capacity? You cannot dictate prices pa rin because that's under the law. No? What can you do? Ensure that there is competition, number one. Number two, ensure that nobody is making money and taking advantage. So what in other countries na deregulated like South Korea, what do they do in times of crisis? Even now, what do? They audit the oil companies. They come in, look at their books, okay, look at their purchase price, break it down, and make sure that basically the margins that are being made are not basically taking advantage of the public. And I hope that the DOE is doing that right now, and probably, if they can, divulge it to the public para mawala na yung iniisip ng publiko na kumikita lahat. Because
Yes.
the only way
Yes.
the only way you can ang sinasabi ko parati, open competition. Yan ang ginawa ng deregulation. But competition is not complete without transparency.
Hmm.
Competition parating may transparency.
Yes.
So ang nawawala siguro dito ng konti is transparency.
Hmm.
That's why yesterday I talked to the Philippine Chamber of Commerce Leyte chapter, Region 8 chapter, at maglo-launch kami ng Price Watch. Ibig sabihin, hindi social media, hindi community-based, but kami mismo mag-update ng mga presyo para makikita ng lahat kung lahat nag-uusap-usap o hindi pagdating sa presyo. So, it's transparency and competition. Perhaps if the oil companies and Regina, let me clarify kasi pag sinasabi nila, alam mo, ang unang nababas dito, gas station eh. Nagmahal kayo,
Yeah.
mga walang hiya kayo. So, kaya lahat nagreklamo. Pero actually, kung titingnan mo yung gas station, most of the independent gas stations buy from the big oil companies.
Yeah.
Shell,
Petron.
Caltex, Phil Oil, yung iba mga Phoenix Petroleum, for example, Sea Oil, bumibili lang sila doon on a weekly basis. So, ang bili nila doon, tutubo sila. Minsan nga, meron akong alam na isang independent, mas mahal siya kaysa Petron. Pero kahit anong gawin niya, hindi niya talaga mapababa ang kanyang presyo. Bakit? Mahal ang kuha niya. So, if we have to look at kung sino ang titingnan natin dito, it's not the pump prices ang titingnan natin dito. It's the oil company supplying the gas station.
Right. Right.
Yun ang missing link.
So ulitin ko lang, Governor. The DOE can audit the books of Petron, for example, right now, because we are in a time of crisis, and they should be doing that because that's part of the oil deregulation law.
Yes, they should be actually at any time they can. Pero more so, ito ginagamit itong power na to usually ng ibang deregulated countries during crisis to make sure that margins are put in place. Walang nagtitake advantage. They can do that now. And then show it to the public if the oil companies, kasi sinasabi naman ng oil companies, hindi kami kumikita dito, mahal rin ang kuha namin. So let's put it on the table so that we can see.
Well, Governor, in relation din dyan sa tanong ni Reg, no, one of the elephants in the room, oil deregulation, which is perhaps not an immediate issue, pero significantly medium to long term. No? Nangyari kasi yung oil deregulation at a very different epoch, at a very different time. At ang pinanggalingan niyan, pinaghugutan niyan, ay corruption in government, inefficiency in government. 40 years back, ay hindi pa tayo pwedeng magkaroon ng hybrid, certain level of deregulation, at the same time, a certain level of regulation. Halimbawa, itong buffer stock, sa ganitong klaseng sitwasyon, hindi na pwede yung 30-60 day na reserves, no? Mamamatay yung ating bansa kung gano'n lang yung ating reserve, no? Kaya may mga elements ng oil deregulation na definitely kailangan baguhin, which means changing the law. Pero pwede ba tayo magkaroon ng law na hybrid?
I think we can, pero ang hybrid, actually si Sec Garin, nag-mention siya that maybe we can review, and I agree, it can be reviewed, pero not abolish. Reviewed and probably come up with hybrid. Because tingnan muna natin ngayon, which country right now are doing rationing? I can tell you, Bangladesh, nagrarasyon na ngayon.
Thailand.
Sri Lanka and Myanmar. They're actually rationing right now. They're all regulated countries. Ibig sabihin, ang bumibili ng langis, gobyerno from outside. Ang nagdi-distribute, binibigay sa private sector, pero hanggang doon lang at dictated ang presyo. Silang dictated ng presyo. If they were deregulated, probably their prices are more than ours right now. But they decided to regulate it. Anong nangyari? Hindi nila kayang bilhin, um, hindi nila kayang i-subsidize yung difference ng presyo na sa tingin nila dapat acceptable sa tao at yung totoong presyo pag kinuha nila sa Middle East. So anong nangyari? Since they don't have enough money to subsidize, ang ginawa nila, magrasyon tayo. Gusto nyo ng mababang presyo? Walang problema, pero magrarasyon tayo. Pero kung gusto nyo naman ng walang rasyon, mag-aanli pa kayo, may free market prices tayo ngayon, kagaya ng Pilipinas, which is lahat naman nagrereklamo kasi sobrang mahal. So, where should we be? Maraming ideya sa mga hybrid. Pero ang nasa isip ko ganito, kasi pinagdududahan nga natin itong mga oil companies na kumikita. This is just basically an idea that came into my mind. Why don't government have their own gas stations?
You mean,
they will compete.
mm.
They'll compete. If they don't compete on the market level, magsasubsidize sila. Now, under peacetime, ayaw ni gobyerno magsubsidize. Why should they? Acceptable naman sa atin yung 61, for example, so they'll sell it at 61, yung diesel. Now, later on, nagka-crisis. They can go with the other companies, with the private companies na nagtataas together with the market, or they can choose to subsidize. But I will tell you what will happen. Okay, if they do that. Lahat pipila sa kanila, wala nang pipila sa private. Okay, ang private naman, magte-temporarily magsara because I can't sell my oil. Pero what will happen there is, si gobyerno, this is just an example of the comparison between government run and private run. Si gobyerno naman, ang daming kliyente to the point na every time may magpapagas sa kanila, magsasubsidize sila. And they will also run out of fuel because they cannot afford the subsidy. I'll give you an idea kasi hindi ma-picture ng lahat kung ano ang cost ng subsidy. Ganito, for every 1 peso subsidy ng Philippines, kahit diesel or gasoline, it is 73 million a day for every 1 peso. 73. Kung 100 pesos ang isa-subsidize mo per liter, that is basically
7.3.
7.3 billion a day. Ganito na lang. The price of diesel right now is 157. Lagay mo nga 160. Okay? I-subsidize yan ng gobyerno. In 1 year, kunyari 1 year, hindi bumaba, isa-subsidize ng gobyerno para 61 lang babayaran natin. The government will have to subsidize roughly around 2.3 trillion.
So,
We have a budget of
Yeah.
7 trillion. I don't know where you'll get 2.3 trillion.
Yeah. So Gov, we're gonna run into the same problem as the OPSF, which is it's gonna blow a hole in the national budget kasi subsidize ka ng subsidize, right? So mahirap din yung ganong scenario.
So there is also the government kasi can actually come up with their own gas station. This is suntok sa ano lang to ha. This is just idea kasi maraming ways of subsidizing, but it is actually to show the public between the private and the government to the point na kagaya ng ibang countries ngayon, they have reduced their subsidy. Hindi na namin kaya i-subsidize yung buo. So kahit yung mga iba, tumaas na rin ang presyo nila. So there is a control mechanism on how much you can actually subsidize to the point na kung hindi mo na talaga kaya, you let the private sector come in and sell their gasoline at the same price. So, pros and cons. Okay? Maganda ang national kapag may crisis. Pero pag walang crisis, you let the market forces take its place. So, what do we do if there's any amendment? The amendment is basically centering on times when there are crises. What can the government do? Like stock. Kasi iniwan natin sa private sector ang pag-stock. Alam mo, ganitong oil companies mag-isip ha. Okay, I will stock 90 days para merong stock ang Pilipinas. Here's my problem. Bumili ako ng 90 days worth of gasoline and diesel, good for 90 days at the price today. tapos nagkamayan si Iran tsaka si US, tapos next week bumagsak ang presyo. I have 90 days of inventory which I am now forced to sell at a lower price. So, anong gagawin ko? Hindi na ako magsa-stock. Ano ba ang requirement ng DOE? 15 days lang for finished product. Hanggang 15 days na lang ako. Kasi delikado eh. But they're not thinking about the country. They're thinking about their company. So that's the difference. So perhaps on times of crisis, or even before a crisis happens, the government should have their own stockpile. The private sector does not want to take a stockpile. It will cost them 160 billion
Yeah.
pesos. So that's where the government comes in.
Sir, let me ask you, sir, a very popular question that's been doing the rounds. Should we be allowing oil companies to charge us for acquisition? No,
Replacement.
for replacement costs rather than acquisition cost. Kasi for example, di ba, what we do now is we average MOPS for the entire week previous to the coming Tuesday, and that's what we peg our prices on. Even though that oil that we just bought, it will take how many weeks or how many days for it to get here and be sold to the public?
Maraming explanation dyan, pero siguro the simplest way for me to explain is ganito. Okay, meron akong stock, sure, mura ko nabili to. Now, meron akong binibenta ngayon. However, every time magbenta ako ngayon, I have to replace it. Kailangan mag-stock ako. Kaya lang ang presyo ngayon mahal na. Ano ba ang gagamitin ko ng pera para pambili sa replacement? Yung binabayad nyo sa akin pag kayo nagpapagas. Ngayon, kung murang bayad nyo sa akin, paano ko bibili? Mahal na ngayon eh. So, anong gagawin ko kung pinorse ako na wag ako magtaas ng presyo? What will happen is I will not restock. Maybe I'll just close. Okay? That's parang sasabihin nila, parang mind conditioning ka naman kasi yan ang sinasabi nga, mind conditioning eh. So sabi ko, okay, ang sabi ko, I'd like to test it, pero if we test it, baka magka-shortage tuloy tayo. That's why the government should have a control over its own supply that it can give to the people. Right now, it doesn't have. Sabi ko nga, kung merong gas station ang gobyerno na mura, pero ang magpapagas, mga bus lang tsaka jeepney, because that will keep the inflation down, that's a big help, no? Pero to control the private sector is a bit risky. Alam ko, may magko-comment, nako, malaki kinikita niyan. I don't want to experiment at this point. Not in this crisis.
Yeah, pero di ba, Gob, kung gas station ka, pwede ka magsara. Pero kung ikaw ay big player, parang nakakatawa naman na sasabihin mo na kung malulugi ako dyan, magsasara na lang ako. Ang laki nung kwan mo eh. Nung profit margin mo. Ang laki nung kwan mo eh. So, lagi na lang bang itatransfer sa consumers yung ganyang klaseng, sabi nga namin, rocket and feather? Pag tumaas ang presyo ng global market, ang bilis, overnight. Pag bumaba, katulad ngayon, ang tagal. No? Sobrang tagal. May hirap maunawaan ng kanyan eh, karaniwang consumer. Kahit anong ipaliwanag natin. No?
Tama ka, Ronald. Kahit anong gawin ko dito, talagang hindi acceptable ang explanation. Paulit-ulit tayo dito. The only explanation that is acceptable, and para sa akin, it's up to the oil companies, if they're willing to do it, is let DOE audit their books, let it come out, para makita if they're really making money or not. Because doon lang naman, wala nang ibang pupuntahan to eh. Are you making money? Are you taking advantage of the situation? Hanggat hindi natin nabubuksan yan, hindi magiging open yan sa public, pagdududahan talaga ang mga oil companies.
Okay. Okay, maraming salamat.
What did you make of the Ramon Ang's saying that the government can take back Petron if it wants to anytime naman daw?
Alam mo yung refinery niya ngayon, there were times before the war, there were times na hindi umaandar yan. 4 na buwan, 3 buwan, hindi umaandar. Bakit? Mas mura kung kumuha ka sa Singapore. So habang hindi umaandar yan, may overhead ka. Okay? May nagsasabi na nga, yung mga ibang tao, benta na lang natin to, mag-import na lang tayo. But sinasabi niya, a country without a refinery is very risky. He kept it. And it's kind of paying off right now. Pero kung siya lang papipiliin, kung meron kang refinery na sinasara mo kasi minsan mas mababang presyo sa Singapore, kung ako negosyante, parang ganun yung sasabihin ko, gusto niyo sa inyo na lang to. Kasi it's ang overhead ko malaki. But then again, I'm not sure why the government is not seriously looking into it, because you don't really have to buy it as a whole. You can be a shareholder. Now you have a say.
Okay. Okay.
Maraming
Reg,
salamat,
maraming
Gob.
salamat for talking to us, late Governor Jericho Icot Petilla. Thank you, sir.
Salamat, Gob.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.